Welcome to the studio. I'm Nithya Caleb, and today at the Construct Show, I have Scott Conwell, who's an architect with the International Masonry Institute. Welcome to the studio, Scott.
Thanks, Nithya.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Great.
I wanted to start off by talking about large format tiles, especially what the design possibilities they offer. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Sure. Large format tile is probably the most widely used type of ceramic tile and porcelain tile for commercial projects today. And when we talk about large format tile, what that means is really anything over 15 inches on one side. So a 12 by 24 inch or a 24 by 24 inch tile, although not super large by today's standards, fall into the category of a large format tile. When we talk about the ultra large format, we have tiles today that are literally 1 meter by 3 meters and even 5 feet by 10 feet. So very, very large. And that's a little bit different animal, but collectively all these units would be in the large format tile category.
And how do they, what are the constraints when it comes to installing these tiles? What is it that a contractor or installer should look out for? And how can a specifier make sure the installation goes properly?
Sure, that's a really good question because everybody loves the look of large format tile because it's a very modern type of material, and also it's low maintenance because fewer grout joints to take care of. So it's a beautiful material, but you're exactly right, Nithya. There are a few installation constraints and design constraints too, and we can't talk about design without talking about installation. You really kind of have to consider them simultaneously.
Okay.
So I would say the number one thing to watch out for in a large format tile is how flat is your substrate. In other words, the concrete floor or the backer board on the wall that you're putting the tile on really has to be flat within the standards set forth by ANSI A108. Because tiles don't bend, generally. Some of the real thin ones can bend, but generally a porcelain tile is a rigid material. And if you have a substrate that's not flat to the 1/8 of an inch and 10-foot dimension that ANSI puts forth, then you could have the danger of that tile becoming debonded or issues with mortar coverage or other types of problems. And if it's a wet area, then even more problems. So I think floor flatness and wall flatness are an important element to large format tile. Also, laying out the tile, lippage. Lippage is what could happen if the edge of one tile is slightly higher or lower than the adjacent tile. So a substrate that is not flat could contribute to lippage, but also the layout on the design side. If the designer or the architect lays out the pattern on a 50% offset or a running bond, what they're actually doing is they're lining up the midpoint of a tile with the corner of the adjacent tile. And some of the large format tiles, particularly the plank tiles, the very, very long and thin tiles, have a tendency to be manufactured with a slight camber to them. So if you can imagine laying out these plank tiles on a running bond pattern, like a brick bond pattern, you're kind of asking for lippage. So it's better to offset them 33% instead of 50% or even less than that.
Okay, that's good. That's great information. Have there been any recent code changes with regards to large format thin tiles that you think our readers should know about?
There are two new standards and a third one being developed now. So ANSI A137.3 is the new standard for gauged porcelain tile for the material itself. It's a really exciting new material. It's a very ultra large format, ultra thin. And then the installation standard for this gauged porcelain material is ANSI A108.19. We're working as an industry. I sit on the Tile Council of North America and also the ANSI committee. Each one of those committees is a 60-person committee that has representatives from labor, from manufacturing, from the design side. So we're working on A108.20, which is the exterior installation for gauged porcelain tile. And the other code change that we're very excited about, that we anticipate that we'll see in the International Building Code in 2021, is the increase in the maximum unit size that is allowed to be adhered to exteriors of buildings. So for adhered porcelain tile, in 2021, we'll be able to use tiles as large as 9 square feet if they're a quarter of an inch thick or thicker, and tiles as large as 17.5 square feet if the tiles are thinner than a quarter of an inch.
Oh, wow.
So we're going from small tiles on the outside to very, very large tiles on the outside.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Scott. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Nithya.
That's it from us here at the studio. I'm Nithya Caleb, and I was in conversation with Scott Conwell, an architect at the International Masonry Institute.